In this video, we are going to be talking about Python for machine learning and answering the question of how much should I know to get started, or how much should you know to get started. My name is Meshach and I'm a data scientist applying machine learning for agriculture and environmental applications. The challenge many people have is they think they need to learn all about Python before they get started with machine learning, but that is not usually the truth. So you don't have to be scared about anything. So what is the big answer or the short answer to the question of how much should I know to get started with machine learning? The short answer is 1 to 2 months of daily or regular Python practice. And reason is because you don't need to master everything at all. You don't need to master everything. The reality about Python for machine learning is that Python level required is relatively low when you are getting started. The real challenge is understanding the machine learning concepts, not just the Python syntax. So you don't necessarily need to know everything that there is to know about Python before getting started. But if you've been an expert Python programmer, maybe you've been using Django or Flask for other web design projects in the past, that would be a nice thing to get started. But if you are yet to know all those things, it is just okay to understand the basics. Reason is that you will learn as you go with hands-on projects. Through project, you will face several hurdles, you will face several challenges that you will then need to learn more or learn something that is specific to the problem at hand. And that is how you grow your knowledge. There's a essential skill that you must have, which you can actually have within those 1 to 2 months if you learn regularly. One of them is variables and basic data types. Variables is just like buckets. For example, you can store something in it and you can always call it whenever you want to use the value that you stored inside it. So I will use like a bottled water as an example. A bottled water contains water. So the bottle itself, it's a variable, and the water inside it is the value of that variable. And we have different data types that could be assigned to a specific variable. It can be string, it can be float, and many others. Then you have control flow, and control flow are those things that could include conditionals, for loops, while loops that you can use when you're manipulating your data or to explore your data better. Another thing is function. You must learn how to define them, how to call them, and how to understand what parameter do I need for this function to work. And lastly, of course, to be able to return the final value of the function. And if it's something that doesn't require a return, you need to understand how that works. Then the basic file operations, they are very important. Input and output operations, you need to understand how to store your data, how to import it from a specific storage directory, and some of these basic stuff about I/O operations. You don't need to understand them too deep to get started. And the critical data structures that you need to know, number one, you need to understand lists. You need to understand dictionaries. Lists can be stored within a dictionary. And sometimes you can have a list of dictionaries. You can also have dictionaries of lists. So you can have a list that is containing dictionaries, and you can have dictionaries that's containing lists. But one thing about dictionaries is that dictionaries are key value pairs, and you can have a key that is assigned to a specific value. And that is one of the things. Then you can have tuples and sets. The important thing is that these things, you need to know them because they are constantly used in data manipulation and machine learning workflow. So understanding all these data structures at this basic level is very important. And the essential Python libraries that you then need to know after understanding those basic things. Number one is NumPy, which is for numerical computing. Number two is Pandas. Number three is Matplotlib. And number four, you have like scikit-learn, which is the primary machine learning toolkit. Understanding these four, after solidifying your knowledge in those fundamentals of Python, will really help you in building projects and other things that you need to do as you make progress on your machine learning journey. So what you don't need initially, it is not that they are not important, but when getting started, you don't necessarily need them at that point. Else, you will be very overwhelmed and you just log off and say, this is too difficult, I can't do it, and just go off. One is advanced OOP. OOP is object-oriented programming, like decorators, multiple inheritance, and several others. They are important. You will need to know them later on your learning journey, but you don't need them to get started. Web frameworks like Django, Flask, and others, you don't need to know them in the beginning. Then complex design patterns, advanced asynchronous programming, PyTorch, for example, that is used for deep learning, TensorFlow also used for deep learning, and other kind of operations that you want to carry out in machine learning and deep learning. But you don't need to understand them in the beginning. And the last one here is LLM training, like large language model. You don't need to know how to build the next ChatGPT when getting started. That is too early for that. You need to get started with the basics, and when you learn the basics well, when you get to the point of learning PyTorch, TensorFlow, and all others, it will be very easy for you to understand. So for agricultural and environmental machine learning application, you just need to understand your data manipulation skill. They are more important than the advanced Python. Very important than advanced Python. You need to understand how to manipulate your data very well. And because most of the work that you're going to be doing is getting data and processing it into the correct form. For example, getting sensor data, weather data, soil data, another kind of data set that is required for you to build a working model. Then you need to understand pandas and numpy, because those are the things that you will use in your data manipulation. So you need to take pandas and numpy seriously when you're getting started, because being proficient in them is your best friend. So if you're ready to get started, like this video and subscribe to Learn with Meshach, which is his YouTube channel, so that you can easily get notified as I'll be uploading videos that explain all this basic Python and the basics of those libraries like NumPy, Pandas, and you will find somewhere on the screen the video on Pandas that I've recorded before. So if you're afraid, just get started. Thank you very much.